What is Kamala Harris known for? What is her claim to fame? What is Kamala Harris known for?
Bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
What has she done that's going to make you say, that's the person I want as a vice president? What has she actually done? Not who you think that she is, but what has she actually done?
Bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who are on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
I believe them, and I respect them being able to tell their story and having the courage to do it.
Do you believe that the vice president should enter this race?
Oh, he's going to have to make that decision for himself. I wouldn't tell him what to do.
Now, oftentimes I get accused of tearing down or condemning black people because I choose to hold black people accountable. People literally tell me I shouldn't tell the truth because it will cause division.
Senator Harris?
When Vice President Biden was in the United States Senate working with segregationists to oppose busing, which was the vehicle by which we would integrate America's public schools, had I been in the United States Senate at that time, I would have been completely on the other side of the aisle. And let's be clear about this. Had those segregationists their way, I would not be a member of the United States Senate, Cory Booker would not be a member of the United States Senate, and Barack Obama would not have been in a position to nominate him to the title he now holds. And so, on that issue, we could not be more apart, which is that the Vice President has still failed to acknowledge that it was wrong to take the position that he took at that time.
I get accused of being against black people, but I know that I get accused of these things because I dare to hold black people accountable. What I don't do is let someone's skin color get in the way of my opinion of them. So I'm going to be objective about the person because I won't focus on their skin color, but I will focus on their character. So I don't just hold black people accountable, but I hold white people accountable, and I hold people from the LGBTQP, don't forget X, Y, and Z community accountable. I hold Jewish people accountable. I hold everybody accountable. But 99.9% of you complaining don't. Besides the fact that she's a woman, and besides you all thinking that she's black or African American, what are your reasons for supporting Kamala Harris?
Support financial reparations?
I support that we study that. We should study it and see. But look, let's look at this, for example. One of the issues that is very clear is that trauma, years of trauma or even one experience with trauma, can lead to lifelong consequences. I'm supporting some work and was part of some work that started years ago looking at children who are growing up in a community where there is violence. And if you look at the associated then physical health effects that are associated with exposure to trauma, and what that can mean in terms of physical disability, not to mention what it means in terms of a child's ability to learn and be educated. There are real factors that can be associated with trauma. And when you are talking about the years and years and years of trauma that were experienced because of slavery, because of Jim Crow, and because of all that we have seen in terms of institutional and legal discrimination and racism, this is very real, and it needs to be studied. And we need to look at exactly how the response should be played out and how it should be worked.
Many of you all are going to assume that she is good for black people Based on what? I just always ask these questions because I want to know a tangible reason to why you think these things are going to take place. Most of our belief in politics is all based on nostalgia and hope. They just told you to vote, and they told you to vote Democratic. That was it. They didn't ask you to do any research. They didn't ask you to look into any of these politicians or policies or track records or history. They just simply told you to vote, and they told you to vote Democratic, which is still a form of bondage because a person should be able to vote for whoever they choose to vote for.
You're going to get in the weeds, but give me the patience of time to explain it. When I was looking at the issue of truancy, I realized that when we define truancy, we defined it as 3 or 4 unexcused absences. You're truant. I was seeing kids that were missing up to 80 days of a 180-day school year. So my point, why isn't the education code recognizing that? 80 days of a 180-day school year ain't 10%, Miss Harris. That's what I'm saying to you. So that's about 18 days. What ended up happening is by changing the education code, it also changed it by reference then was in the penal code. This is all Kamala Harris's words. And then that was an unintended consequence. And if I could do it over again, I would have made sure that it would not have increased penalties or the ability to prosecute anywhere in the state to prosecute parents. That's the end of her quote. The possibility of jailing parents was not an unintended consequence. This is according to factcheck.org. And the bill did not just change the education code. It created a new section to the California Penal Code, as we have already noted. This is what Kamala Harris knew. She is the Attorney General of California. She is not happenstance there. She created a set of laws, and I need Angela Rye, I need Puff Daddy, I need Kamala Harris to look at Cherie Peoples and tell her why she went to jail and why she suffered. And if they can't tell me that, I don't know why we should vote for Joe Biden.
So there's no way you all could actually think that Kamala Harris is for us. So you really just want Kamala Harris to be the vice president so you can have some sort of bragging rights, not realizing that bragging rights has never fared well for us, ever, especially in politics.
I support the United States' commitment to provide Israel with $38 billion in military assistance over the next decade. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. I support full funding for Israel, including for the Arrow, David Sling, and the Iron Dome missile defense system. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. I am fully committing to maintaining Israel's qualitative military edge. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. When I am elected president, I'll take immediate action to immediately reinstate protection for DACA recipients. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people.
Obama had total control of the House and the Senate for 2 years, and what did he do? Well, let me get more specific. What did he do for us? You see, a lot of this boils down to us, and many of you all will tell me that these black leaders that we put in office can't really help black people, but somehow they manage to help everybody else.
I don't need to tell you that a big voting bloc in the Democratic Party, black Americans.
Yes.
What's your agenda for black America?
Well, it's a number of things. First of all, we need to deal with the economic status of African Americans in this country. When you look at it in terms of everything from home ownership to wages, we can see huge disparities. And so that needs to be addressed. Let's look at an issue like maternal mortality. I am actually presenting what I believe should be the response to that. I have studied this issue. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth. And when you study the issue, it becomes very clear that it is regardless of the socioeconomic status of those women. It is regardless of their educational level. It is, as it turns out, without much more investigation, a matter of racial bias in the healthcare delivery system. Those women are not taken as seriously when they show up at the clinic or the doctor's office or the hospital. I am looking at it in terms of being a proud member and graduate of an HBCU, Howard University, and what we need to do to support our HBCUs. I was proud that I had a piece of legislation that actually has been passed to invest federal resources in supporting our HBCUs, recognizing that HBCUs really produce, in some professions, the majority of African Americans who enter those professions. So there are a number of issues, and including, of course, what we need to do to reform the criminal justice system.
Kamala Harris is a Democrat, so by default, she's not going to care about black employment. She's not going to want you all to have guns. She's going to want black people tied to the system. She'll want to implement socialism/communism for black people and really for all Americans. She's going to fight for everybody but black people. You know, just typical Democratic stuff.
At least I respect Bernie Sanders enough for him to come out and say, no, I don't agree with that, right? You should have just said no. And Don Lemon tried to give you a bone. Don Lemon was trying to remind you, say, wait a minute, this is a big voter block. You know, you understand what you're about to say? And you still did not get it at this point? See, Kamala is so out of touch. And see, this is what happens when you kind of separate yourself from the black community. Because when you separate yourself from the black community, you're not in touch with what's going on at all. You don't engage them. You only talk to black people when you need something from them. That's not really engaging the black community. And we are way past this attitude and notion that it's okay just to be black or whatever shade that you are, you claim yourself to be black, and you're going to skate on by. These do-nothing politicians that's just occupying a space but not doing anything for the black community is wrong.
But I will ask again, besides her being a woman and besides you all thinking she's black, what is your reason for supporting her?
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
We need to recognize that when it comes to the economic gap between blacks and whites in America, it does come from a great injustice that has never been dealt with. That great injustice has had to do with the fact that there was 250 years of slavery followed by another 100 years of domestic terrorism. What makes me qualified to say $200 to $500 billion? I'll tell you what makes me qualified. If you did the math of the 40 acres and a mule, given that there was 4 to 5 million slaves at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 to 5, and they were all promised 40 acres and a mule for every family of 4. If you did the math today, it would be trillions of dollars.
Now, many of you all will tell me she's better than Trump. And I would just say, well, if she's better than Trump, then show me based on her track record. Kamala Harris will not only be a vaccine pusher, but Kamala Harris will be for mandatory vaccines. She will be for the tracking and the tracing and the whole nine. As I've told you all before, these Democrats are going to hide behind COVID-19 and COVID-20.
They say you oppose legalizing weed.
That's not true.
I know.
And look, I joke about it, half joking. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me?
You ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
And I inhale. I did inhale.
Okay.
Her dad, Donald Harris, from Jamaica, an economics professor at Stanford University, says this: my dear departed grandmothers, as well as my deceased parents, must be turning in their grave right now to see their family's name, reputation, and proud Jamaican identity being connected in any way, jokingly or not, with the fraudulent stereotype of pot-smoking, joy-seeking, and in pursuit of identity politics.
Did you ever smoke pot? And she said something like, hey, I'm Jamaican. I have, hello, of course. And then, I inhaled, by the way. Doing a callback to Clinton saying I didn't inhale. Okay. So her father, who's a professor at Stanford University, was upset. He said it looked bad for the Jamaicans, basically.
Yeah.
And then he said, the father, when the Politico wanted to interview him, no, I don't want any attention on myself. Then why did you open your mouth?
I know.
Why stick it?
Why not pick up the phone and call his daughter and say, you know what, babe, I don't like the type of stereotypical thing you just said. And by the way, she said it in jest. This is a woman who actually has a sense of humor and laughs easily, is self-deprecating.
That's true.
We need somebody who can laugh in the White House. How about people who can't laugh?
How about just being proud of the fact that you raised a daughter?
But again, I'm going to ask, besides her being a woman and besides you all thinking that she is black and besides her not being Trump, why are you going to support Kamala Harris? What about her policies have you seen that support at least a black agenda?
Senator Harris was the Attorney General for 8 years in the state of California. there were two of the most segregated school districts in the country, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. And she did not, like, I didn't see a single solitary time she brought a case against them to desegregate them. Secondly, she also was in a situation where she had a police department when she was there that in fact was abusing people's rights. And the fact was that she, in fact, was told by her own people, that her own staff, that she should do something about and disclose to defense attorneys like me that you, in fact, have been, the police officer did something that did not give you information that would exculpate your client. She didn't do that. She never did it. And so what happened? Along came a federal judge and said, enough, enough, and he freed 1,000 of these people. If you doubt me, Google 1,000 prisoners freed, Kamala Harris.
Thank you. You all do realize the plan for this country. You all do realize that the plan for this country is to be just like China. You do understand that, right? You do understand the models they push forward in our community. Black Lives Matter Global Network is a LGBTQP, don't forget X, Y, and Z, socialist, communist organization. The head of BLM said they were trained Marxists. But if you look at what BLM believes in, you will actually see the plan of the Democrats. The Democrats support Black Lives Matter Global Network. They control the funding, and their true mission is in what BLM believes. This is why I call Black Lives Matter a Trojan horse. Kamala Harris was a strategic pick. She's a no-brainer. You kill two birds with one stone. You get a woman and you get a woman of color. And so with that, many Democrats believe that that will push Joe Biden over the top.
I'm part of that Obama coalition. I come out of the black community in terms of my support. If you notice, I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point is,
that's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first. I said the first African-American elected. First African-American. So my point is that one of the reasons I was picked to be vice president was because of my relationship, long-standing relationship with the black community. I was part.
But I guess my question is, do you want to be free or do you want to be comfortable? Because pretty soon, neither of those will be an option. I'm going to respect my ancestors, and I'm going to demand something for my vote. And I'm going to respect my ancestors if the people tell me no by boycotting the entire system. I'm going to respect my ancestors, and I'm going to stand on some principles. I'm not going to vote for the lesser of two evils, because if I feel that both candidates are evil, then guess what? I will withhold my righteous vote. I will not lend my vote to evil. Since I respect my ancestors, I will not just take scraps from the table. I will demand what's mine.
I am incredibly honored by this responsibility, and I'm ready to get to work. I am ready to get to work. And Joe, I'm so proud to stand with you. America is crying out for leadership. Yet we have a president who cares more about himself than the people who elected him. A president who is making every challenge we face even more difficult to solve. But here's the good news. We don't have to accept the failed government of Donald Trump and Mike Pence. In just 83 days, we have a chance to choose a better future for our country.
None of this is personal. I just want what's best for my people who refuse to demand something from this system. Wait for a few blasts. Get money.